outside of you. Everything that you say you are was once part of a tree, was once a carrot, was once the air that you are breathing in. If you are breathing in all of these toxic materials, if you are consuming toxic materials, your body is becoming toxic. So what this boundary between you and not you does not end at your skin. You're much larger, you're much more immense than you realize. Listen. All life is dependent on the sun. Everything that we know that grows is dependent on the sun. He talks about this. He says, when we look at green vegetables, we should know that it is the sun that is green and not just the vegetables. The green color in the leaves of the vegetables is due to the presence of the sun. Without the sun, no living being could survive. Without the sun, water, air, and soil, there could be no vegetables. The vegetables are a coming together of many conditions near and far. We will pick up this notion again at the end of the semester when we are looking at Arnie Nass. We're looking at Arnie Nass. Arnie Nass encouraged us to envision ourselves as not in the biospherical net of field of interrelationships. What he's saying with that, and what Thich Nhat Hanh is also trying to articulate, is that you are here. You are this little dot here. But to make you requires all of these different webs of connections to things outside of yourself. I'd say this is the food that you had for breakfast. This is the air that you breathed over the summer in wherever you were. This is the water that you drank in your coffee 4 days ago. All of these interrelationships, all of these energetic pathways coalesce in you. You are this node where all of these energetic pathways are focused. I think that's kind of cool, actually. To think of yourself as this moving ball of energy that's connected to everything outside of itself. What else? Okay. The top of page 3. He's talking about how we all know that the earth is in danger, that there are all sorts of problems that are affecting it. We all have this desire, this motivation to stop those negative changes from occurring. I mean, I'm sure all of you have engaged in some sort of campaign for the benefit of the planet. But after so many losses, it starts to become really demotivating. Okay? When you look at all of the things that need to change and how limited your power really is, a lot of people have the tendency to become discouraged and lose interest in doing it. Thich Nhat Hanh says, real strength is not in power, money, or weapons, but in deep inner peace. If we change our daily lives, the way we think, speak, and act, we can change the world. The best way to take care of the environment is to take care of the environmentalist. What does that mean? Real strength is not in power, money, or weapons, but in deep inner peace. If we change our daily lives, the way we think, speak, and act, we change the world. The best way to take care of the environment is to take care of the environmentalist. Explain that to me.
I feel like it's almost talking about preventing burnout with so many, like you said, like after so many losses, it's hard to like keep going and like fighting. But like if you're taking care of the environmentalists, like mentally, and I don't know, I just feel like it's like if you're in a better mental state, you can fight for longer.
Okay. What does it, I mean, specifically says, if we change our daily lives, the way we think, speak, and act, we change the world.
It's saying like, change yourself and it'll, in effect, change the world.
How does that work though? Like, how, if all of a sudden I have no idea, I'm trying to think of some way I could change myself, but if.
You're perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. My mom thinks so.
People are connected.
People aren't connected
Yeah.
to what?
I mean, the world, the earth.
Okay. So how would we change the way we think, speak, and act? What kind of changes would these be, and how would they save the world?
I just feel like if you change the way you act around other people as well, it has an influence on other people. And somebody like lives on the street and you pick that up and put it in the trash because you have respect for nature and all that sort of stuff. It might affect them in a way that they don't. I feel bad for disrespecting, their area.
Okay. So treating other people with respect and can you say influence them
Or just
to behave more responsibly?
Your actions can, through your own actions, you can see the way you treat nature and maybe can gain some of that appreciation for themselves.
Okay. What else? How can we change ourselves such that we can precipitate environmental change.
It's cliche, but be the change you wanna see.
Thank you, Gandhi. Yes, be the change you want to see in the world. So what changes do you want to see in the world? Are you just perfectly happy the way things are going? You're just like, oh wow, I'm so looking forward to this presidential election. It's gonna be great. I just read this article in the BBC saying that both 80% of Republicans and 80% of Democrats are incredibly frightened about the way that this election is going to go. So it seems that 80% of the population right now is scared about what's going to happen next. So if that's the case, how can we change ourselves to cultivate, well, let me see if I can, that's really quickly. Peace and compassion, inner peace and compassion. Yeah.
Just going along with, like, I mean, I always had, one of my quotes that I kind of live by is, if you don't like something, change it, but if you can't change it, change the way you think about it. So it's, it's all about mindset in that regard, and there's so many different angles that we may not know. And so if we can change our mindset, the way we think about things and the way we do things, then it's gonna help us have a lot more peace, and we're gonna be able to find more peace within ourselves, because there's a lot of things we can't change in this world. I can't change the fact that you wanna wear a hat and I don't, or someone wants to wear a hoodie.
I was having a bad hair day.
And it's okay.
I was, this isn't working for me.
To each their own. So it's, I can't control everything around me, and I can't control what my kids do, I can't control what my family does, I can't control my friends. But if you change the way you think about all of those different things, and you're really just, you focus on the things that you can change, then you're gonna have a lot more inner peace and a lot less complaining, to an extent.
Thich Nhat Hanh says these 4 things can help us to reimagine what these mean. He says, right in your text, self, person, living being, and lifespan are 4 notions that prevent us from seeing reality. And what I just erased, those notions of, those requirements to survive, that is what your self is. There's also the notion of in Buddhism, it's referred to as anatta. In Western philosophy, it's typically thought of as bundle theory. But it's the idea that yourself doesn't actually exist. when I teach the intro courses, I usually start out by saying that one of the problems with philosophy is that, and this was actually told to me by one of my advisors, he said that one of the problems with philosophy is that when you have your degree in philosophy, you know less than when you began, when you started. And I agree, and I now realize how true that is. I don't think I exist. I am probably 95% certain that I don't exist. Before I started philosophy, I was like, yeah, of course I exist. I don't know if my perceptions map onto reality. Like what I am perceiving in this table, if that has any connection with the way the table is in reality, or if that table even exists in reality. The notion of yourself, most people think that their self is this little person inside of their brain with this huge wall of like computer screens and all of these controls, and that little person is controlling this body, making this body do these things. Or that there is this part of them that remains constant, though everything else changes. If you look at a picture of yourself when you were 3 years old, you'll say, oh hey, that's me when I was 3. But there is nothing in common, that 3-year-old and you. Except maybe DNA, but I wouldn't say that, a blood sample is you, even though it has all your DNA. So by throwing away this notion of the self, by recognizing that there is nothing that remains unchanged through all of our life, we are constantly changing. The person that brushed their teeth this morning is not the same person that's sitting in this classroom right now. You are completely different. So if your self does not exist, what do you have to worry about, really? I mean, I am not going to be alive in the year 3000. So what happens in the year 3000 doesn't really bother me at all. But by the same token, if myself doesn't exist, if this thing that's standing in front of you is not going to exist in 5 minutes, why should I care about it in 5 minutes? There's nothing to say. We can move beyond these notions that are holding us back by moving beyond this. This makes sense to me. Does this make sense to any of you? Have I convinced you that you have no self, that you don't exist? Anna, I haven't? You still think you exist?
Oh, what's right now?
What is right now?
I'm here,
Who is this I of which you're speaking?
myself.
Well,
If I didn't exist in the past, it would mean I don't exist in this moment.
so you're saying you exist, But what is this thing that exists? What is this you?
Living person.
So a living being exists, but what is this?
Myself.
Self. If we had more time, I'd go into deeper bundle theory, which is so fun.
It's like, what is this being? It's that energy ball you were talking about before, and it's everything around you know, that makes up who you are, so it's like, you're not one thing, you are a combination of everything, but that combination, that bundle or whatever, it still is like you, it's not nothing.
It's something, but
And I like to say that's human, that's a self.
But it changes. Every second, it changes because there are different energy pathways that are moving through it. And so it's no longer the same thing. It's a different thing.
It's okay to be yourself, you can change.
If you didn't exist, then what would there be to change?
Interesting.
There you
Interesting
go.
thought. Interesting thought. Okay. The second idea is, well, actually, self and person kind of go along with each other. The notion of a person, of an individual, is odd. What we think of as a person, we've discussed it before, this common characteristics that we can identify a person with are typically intellectual characteristics. Things like the ability to perceive oneself as existing through time. The ability to think rationally, have future plans, all these sorts of characteristics. The ability to possess morals. There are all of these characteristics that are not restricted to humans. There exist non-human persons in the world that have all of the characteristics that we attribute to persons, but they aren't in a human form. Living beings, though, are also interesting too. Because living beings are comprised of non-living elements. That is what makes up any living being, is all of the non-living elements. In fact, this thing that we call life is, actually, I'll ask you, what is it? Like, if you have a living dog here and a dead dog here, one of these dogs has something that the other one is missing. But what is that thing?
Blood flow?
But is that all life is? It's just blood flow?
No.
Yeah.
Brain activity?
Okay. But again, not all living things have brains or brain activity.
That energy flow you were talking about.
Right? So, but what makes it, like, what is the characteristic that allows that energy flow to happen and doesn't? Like, plants are living things, but they don't have blood flow, they don't have brain activity. But if I rip off a piece of lettuce, that piece of lettuce is no longer alive, but the rest of the plant is. So what is that thing that what is life? And I honestly don't know. This is something that this bothers me, actually, that keeps me up at night. Like, what is this thing that we call life?
Well, I mean, something that just kind of, I think about is there's a process going on in a living being. Like you have blood flow, you have brain activity. There's multiple things working together in a single entity. And kind of the same thing with plants. Plants are going through constant photosynthesis during that whole process. When the moment you rip off a leaf or a lettuce, a leaf of lettuce, then all of a sudden you're removing it from that process. You're removing it from that cycle that keeps life alive, essentially. And if you remove blood from a body, like you remove all of its blood, it no longer is a living thing. It's now dead. And so, part of it is, I think it's just we're all these little cycles, like these individual cycles, and when you take something out of that cycle that no longer allows it to continue to do what it normally does, then that's kind of what you can almost say is almost as a living being.
I like what you're saying. I still don't understand what is this element, this thing that, because how does something gain life or lose life? Like what is the process that stops this energy flow or this connection to the cycle? What I really want to say though about living beings, so that was just weird, just kind of tangent, is that all living things are made up of non-living elements. So air, water, the nutrients in your food. What's also interesting though is that, is it the first law of thermodynamics, that matter can neither be created nor destroyed? That's the second law. Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. So think about that. Everything that makes up your body can neither be created nor destroyed. Every atom in your body has been in existence since the Big Bang. The Earth is approximately 4.6 billion years old. Let's just take that as a starting point. 4.6 billion years old. Every atom in your body is 4.6 billion years old. So what that means is you were once a dinosaur. The elements that make up your body were once in a saber-toothed tiger. You were once a tree. Everything that makes you up as an individual, as a living being, comes from non-life, comes from the world outside of you. I think segues very nicely into the notion of a lifespan. We think that we have been alive since a certain point in time, and at that point, and prior to that moment, we did not exist. But life is made of death. We are constantly dying. The cells in our bodies are dying and are also being regenerated as well. Our lifespan is not limited to the time when we are born to the time when we are cremated or composted. That would be a great way to be remembered. backyard, like to be composted, and then have a fruit tree planted above you, so that, you know, people could eat your fruits, eat, yeah.
What kind of fruit would you
I don't know, I'm kind of thinking plum, because you can make plum wine, which is delicious. But I have one friend who wanted to be, like a nut tree, so that people could eat his. Which I thought,
I'm gonna steal that.
We compost, have a nut tree plant right above me. Put that in your will. Ooh, Grandpa.
What my headstone will say.
Thou shalt eat my nuts.
Again, aren't you amazed they hired me and allowed me to keep teaching? Well, I'll skip over the 10 penetrations that he talks about, but each of those are interesting to think about. That we are all that the non-human world connects and penetrates us and is us, and we also connect with that. All right. I want to jump ahead to Gary Snyder, and I said that at the beginning of this. I said that the motivation for looking at these is to try to change the way that we perceive ourselves as fitting into the non-human world as a means of looking for or trying to engage in practices that are more environmentally beneficial. This title of this section that we're reading today is The Good, the Wild, and the Sacred. We'll look at this, something similar to this, and actually I think a week from today, with Thoreau's Walking. And one of the most famous quotes from that is, "Wildness is the preservation of the world." This is often misquoted as in wilderness, but the concept of wilderness didn't really exist for Thoreau. He was discussing, and plus he was also discussing wildness, not wilderness. Again, we'll get into that more in about a week. But he's looking at the good, the wild, and the sacred. And ways in which we can engage with the land. When we say that this plot of land is good land, what does that mean?
It has a purpose for humans.
Okay?